Good afternoon, everybody. Buenas tardes.
Off of your chest. Remember those?
My name is
And we'll
Patricia
try
Perez.
those
And if we could ask everybody to please mute yourselves, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. Hi, my name is Patricia Perez, and I am AARP California State President Emeritus. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our Let's Talk Dinero with AARP event. Welcome, everybody. Today, we're focusing on something very important to all of us, and that is home ownership. One of the most important investments we will make in our lives is our home. And for some of us, it is the key to financial resilience and generational wealth building. So we know how important this is. You may be wondering, what about the current housing market? Will the rates go up? Will they go down? Is it a seller's market or a buyer's market? And what does that actually mean? Should I buy now or wait? And the information, I understand, can be totally overwhelming. The workshop today aims to provide you with clarity about the housing market and answers questions you may have. But I'm not going to be the one answering your questions. For that, we brought in an expert, Sandra Williams. Thank you, Sandra, for joining us once again. Sandra is a licensed broker and principal of her own real estate business, Harmony Estates. For the past 14 years, she has managed and grown her family's business and honed her skills in private money, loan servicing, debt fund, and restoration investments. She has a Barrett's Value Center model certification, as well as a multicultural leadership certification from USC. But before I turn over the program to Sandra, I'd like to get to know our audience a little better. And we always start with one simple poll. Please, I want her to get to know you. Just the question is, I am currently a homeowner. So if ARP could help me by putting up our poll, there we go. Just say yes or no, I am currently a homeowner. Just let us know. Sandra, can you see that going on?
Yes, it's so great. I love how interactive this is.
Yeah, and the majority of our viewers, of people joining us today, are homeowners.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I guess you're wondering, like, is this the right time to sell? All right, so good. Thank you so much. So we went almost 70% to 30% or so, but the majority are homeowners. So let me see. So these are the final results. And let me end that. All right. And thank you, everybody, for answering. But also know that if you have any questions during our conversation, just type them in the chat box. And if you're watching from Facebook, type them in the comments. Also, here's an idea. Type in the county where you live. Please, it'd be wonderful to type in the county where you live. So anyway, thank you all. And now I'd like to turn over the program to Sandra.
Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be with you all today. Yes, it's amazing. So we have majority of our audience who are homeowners. Congratulations on building sustainable wealth for your family. Congratulations on taking that that time and investing into real estate as it's actually one of the pillars for all portfolios, that for individuals who are looking to invest. So congratulations. And I'm taking a look right now at the different counties we have, because one of the big questions we're going to talk about is to understand the market. We want to look at inventory, and we want to talk about, price, median prices and things like that. And so to really go into, some details, I like to answer it with a little bit more focus. So I do see there is a few coming in from Los Angeles County, so that's great. I see Napa County. That's awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and use Los Angeles County as the point of reference for the region. And you can still use a lot of the indicators that are available to apply to your county. But just for the purposes today, we're going to be focusing on Los Angeles County. Awesome. Okay. So what I'm going to get started with is my presentation. Let me go ahead and share my screen. One moment. Let's see here. All right. I'm going to press present. And now I'm going to put share screen. Okay. To buy or not to buy? This is definitely one of the big questions we're going to be answering today. I understand most of you are homeowners. So it could be, do we want to buy an investment property? Do we want to buy another property for our children, a relative? So let's get into it. One of the key things is to determine whether you want to buy is to understand the market. And it is a fluctuating, growing, alive, you know, economy. And so it's a really interesting and tricky question to answer, saying what is the right time and what is a good time and where is the state of the market at this point in time. So I want to start with that. It is fluctuating. It's ever changing. It's ever moving. So it's definitely key to have a trusted professional to be working in your corner, because as I'm in the industry and I'm working it every day, it's still fluctuating, as much as it is for any other agent. So it's because we're actively talking to clients every day, and so we're getting to see a really ground level understanding of what's moving and what's changing. So what I always like to recommend, so it's not overwhelming, is to really focus on a 90-day time capsule. So I know when it comes into buying, this is really helpful to create the parameter of time that you can use to not get overwhelmed, to really just stay focused in this time parameter. 90 days is a really good window to talk about what has, you know, what's on the market, what's sold, and what's actively being in contract during those 90 days. You can also see that within these 90 days, you would have about 3 to 2 different Fed, the federal rates would have met 2 to 3 times during that time frame to see whether or not the rates would be changing to increase or decrease. And so that's one of the key elements that we, as home buyers, we're looking at to see, how the Fed is determining the affordability, one key aspect of the affordability, and that's the Federal Reserve rate. And everyone can go ahead and which I really highly suggest, is to getting familiar with understanding that the Federal Reserve, they meet every 6 weeks. So just to have that understanding, it's really good for you to know. And at this current pinpoint of time, the current Federal Reserve rate is 5.5%. So what does that mean and how does that relate to you? The mortgage rates are determining based on this Federal Reserve rate. And right now, the mortgage rates are fluctuating between 6.5% to 7% right now. Okay. Do you hear that feedback?
There is some feedback. Let's see, you want to keep trying?
Okay.
All right.
Yes. Okay, there you go. Sounds good. All right. So I just like to have that as an indicator or to stay focused on the mortgage rates are fluctuating between 6.5% to 7%. And to give the context for the year for 2024, the Federal Reserve has announced that they are going to be decreasing the Federal Reserve rate 3 times this year. So that was released at the end of last year. And there was this frenzy. There was this really good excitement in December and January. Okay, we're going to see the Fed, decrease rates. Everyone's ready to okay, there's this built up momentum. And what I wanted to share is this news report that just came out just 3 days ago, February 23rd. And then the Fed has actually just, one of the chairmen, we have New York Federal Reserve President John Williams, sees that the US central bank is on track to actually cut rates later this year. So, due to the stronger than expected inflation and labor market data in January, according to this interview. So, one of the key things to understand is that this these changes happen typically in a 0.5% or 1/4% basis points. So, what does that mean? So, if we're at a 5.5 right now, we're looking at best case scenario, like, a quarter each time. So we can see that it is going to lower, but it's not going to lower to the point of where we saw during COVID, during 2020. So everyone is looking to see, are the rates going to ever go as low as that, like 3%? And as of right now, we look at the time slot. Remember, I would typically like to look at a time capsule of 90 days if you're looking to buy. But just to give a time capsule of the Federal Reserve and understanding, the rates, to give the 2024 time capsule, it would be that they are going to lower. And no one's a a fortune teller as well, right? These are all forecasting, and this is all what has been anticipated based on the Federal Reserve committee meetings, and then also the analysis of economists. So that's something that I like to highlight. And then the next bit, when we're talking about determining whether you want to buy, is going to be inventory. So let's go into a good quick report. Just big picture. I want to let you know this data can get really dense for more and more regions. So we're just going to focus in on Los Angeles County. And one of the key things is they like to describe the market type is it a seller's market or is it a buyer's market? So right now, just to give you that quick answer on what is the seller's market, it's where we have less than 3 months of inventory that's on the market available for buyers to buy. So right now you can see on this analysis report, we have 1.85 months worth of inventory available. Yeah, so you can see that this is a limited inventory that we have more demand of buyers that are looking to buy than there are homes to sell. So that is a perfect example and definition of what a seller's market is. The sellers have the upper hand in determining whether, to have this, like, there's this competition, built up competition that is there for sellers to have there. If they put their property on the market, there's going to be larger pools of buyers than there are larger pools of sellers listing. Okay, so I wanted to address what's the difference between sellers and buyers market. Okay, and another key area that I like to share is the affordability factor. And we talked about the Federal Reserve rate, and now we're talking about the inventory. And what we then have is another indicator is the median sold price. So with interest rates being around 6.5%, and you have limited inventory, you're now seeing the median sold price increasing. Why? Because that one home, there's a large pool of buyers that come into a market and they increase the competition amongst each other. And so then they increase that price that the buyer's willing to pay for that home. So as of right now in the Los Angeles County, the median sold home sales price is $885,000. And, it's really interesting to look at different regions, and we can do that maybe in another presentation to really see that what an $885,000 home in Los Angeles County can buy you, in contrast to Napa County or in San Bernardino County. So, something to definitely take into consideration in looking to buy is also the affordability factor of what is the medium sold price available in that area. Okay. Another key area, a key indicator to determining, whether you want to buy also is understanding the demand. And so typically the properties are on the market for about just 25 days. That's really fast. To have something, and let me just put that in context for you. Like, say you're shopping, you're like, I want to go look for a house and see. I'm gonna go take a look at it this weekend. Within 25 days of you seeing that house that first weekend, it's already sold. That's not to say the time that it took for the escrow period, right? So it's a very so once you're ready, it moves fast if you're wanting to make sure that you're capturing that opportunity. And why do I say that? Just because in Los Angeles County, you can see they trade and close within 25 days. So these are key things to take into consideration when you're looking at the market. Okay, these are just big picture ones. Now I would like to highlight and transition into there's these key questions that I like to focus on, and because there's a lot of decisions that need to be made to see whether or not you're ready to move forward and purchase a property. And that's really sitting down with the professional and putting a plan together. And in order to have that plan, you need to have the right questions to get answered. And so I would suggest these are the type of questions that I would have you answer. And one of the key things I like to highlight with clients is that safety and sustainability are the most important key elements to your decision making factors in buying. And so it's nice to just have it readily available, top of mind. Of course, it's analysis of the financials. Absolutely. However, we also need to know the everyday analysis of the safety that you feel comfortable with and the fact that if this payment is sustainable for you over a long period of time. So, in order to determine that, I would always like to ask the understanding of homeownership in your family's history. Are you the first generation to be purchasing, or do you have generations that have owned real estate? Definitely key. There's a lot more information that need to be shared. And even if there is generational support, it's still important to know the generational differences as well as goals. So these are types of questions. I'm going to kind of speed through them, okay? Understanding your career history and your future career. So that has to also determine whether proximity to your work and if you're okay to having that commute. Understanding your relationship history and your relationship goals. If you're a new couple and you're looking to, grow the family within the next 2 years, that's important. Also, if you have, elderly family, maybe you're going to want to have it in a different ensuite for them so that they can move in. Understanding your lifestyle values. For example, if you really value having a walk at the end of your day, so really looking at the neighborhood, is it walkable? Or is it important for you to have access to a trail that you like to go hiking on? So these are all different type of amenities or lifestyle values that are really important that you want to take into consideration. Like, is there a market that you really like? And then, of course, we're not going to get everything we would desire, but it's really nice to know what they are and understanding what you're going to be sacrificing. Another key thing is just region, the cities that you would want to live in due to school districts or family members that are, within certain neighborhoods. And then, of course, it's really important to understanding what are the needs of your housing needs. Are you looking to settle some roots, or is this going to be something just for the next 2 to 3 years? So it's really good to understand your decision making to understand the time capsule that you are operating from. You're like, I want to buy, but really this is only for the next 5 years because I'm going to look to move out of state. There's a lot of things to take into consideration in determining whether your risk threshold is smaller or higher, depending on the length of time that you are going to determine whether you're going to be there or not. And also just these different preferences. A lot of people do not want to be close to a freeway, or they don't want to be on the corner of the lot, and these are all really important indicators to talk about with your realtor. And one of the key things that I like to determine whether it's a right time or it's a good time to buy is really understanding sustainable home ownership. For me, I believe this is a key essential, value and context to determine if it is a good time to buy. Is that payment, is this investment that you're about to take on sustainable for the duration of the next 30 years or whatever the time frame that you commit to that um, loan program that you take on to buy the property? I would say, is this sustainable for the next 30 years? I know that's a big question to answer, and what I like to say, there's a lot of people are like, yeah, like go ahead and buy, and the mortgage payment maybe is really pushing their limits on their budgets, and it kind of can overwhelm them and tax them, not having enough resources to handle not just the mortgage but also the maintenance and the other new responsibilities that it takes on to being a homeowner. So, to really answer the question, is it a good time to buy? Is, it's really hard question to answer too, because there is a lot of analysis that need to be go, but is this payment and are these financial responsibilities sustainable for the long term? And then I like to give tips to talk about the financial life fundamentals. It's understanding like how you are managing your financials. Do you have everything secured with all of your paperwork? Are you understanding, what the responsibilities are of utilities, landscaping, security, storage, now solar, having a living trust, life insurance, credit score monitoring, having your financial statements, reviewed annually. So these are definitely key things. And there's also this website called homebot.com. And with your realtor relationships, you can get access to where they give you valuation and they give you monthly reports of what the value of your home is. So again, not only are the expenses that you're tracking, but the equity that you have also tracking that as well. So it's just best practices that I like to share is that when you're looking to buy, it's during that time frame not to be using your credit cards, keeping your savings, and understanding that any gift of funds need to be seasoned for a couple of months because, you know, definitely need to have everything trackable. I like to highlight also what are the most common questions buyers asking when they are looking to buy. They're not wanting to understand what concessions and contingencies are that need to be put in a contract. And so during the negotiation period, this is where we can talk about what type of concessions you would like the seller to offer, and then what type of contingency timeframes you would like to have. For example, when you're investigating the property to determine whether you want to continue to buy it after you made an offer, the typical time for inspection is about 17 days. So you have 17 days that you can go and test if it has mold, if the home inspection report, maybe you want to get a roof inspector, or if you want to go ahead and touch base on um, having a solar panel get, added on. You can get quotes for everything, seeing if the electrical panel can handle that type of new voltage. So you want to understand that you can set the time frames for your inspection periods. You can set the time frames for your loan to feel that security that you are entering into a contract that you can honor. And then as far as competition, again, we are in a seller's market, so asking for seller credits and buyer down, buying your interest rate down is definitely key and essential to the relationship you have with your realtor and understanding what can be an offer that's competitive for you, but also still keep you in the running to the competition that's in the market. Definitely, what are the expenses are after buying a home? One of the key things I like to tell my new homeowners, I know there's a lot of homeowners in here, so you understand that there is uh, supplemental taxes, a supplemental tax bill that is anticipated within 6 to 9 months after you sell. So I always like to remind those new homeowners about that. And of course, when I mentioned earlier about safety and security, I feel like when you're taking tours for the homes that you're looking at, definitely taking into understanding and expressing to your realtor what is your comfort level of security and safety. Again, one of the key things determining if it's a good time to buy is really the communication skills and communication relation the high level communication relationship you have with your realtor. Because if you are not in good communication with your team, that can hinder you in the process of maybe you need to be moving quickly and there's this property that you really want to move forward on, and maybe you're not having good communication with your agent. That's really going to you're going to miss out on this opportunity. So timing and communication are really key in determining the team that you're working on with will help encourage or be a liability in the buying process. Really quickly, I'm just going to go over the different stages. I know we have many homeowners here, so let me just kind of sweep them by. The first stage is definitely after we've answered all of those questions, we have a clear outlook on budget. We understand what you're looking for. Now you found a property, you've toured it, and you want to make an offer. Then there's the negotiation period to see whether your offer is accepted. And then to say, yes, your offer is accepted. Next stage would be to, at this stage, you would be, sending your wire for your earnest money deposit, because every contract is live once the deposit has been made. Now you have the due diligence period of your inspections and the appraisal. From there, you have the final contingency, which would be the loan contingency. I always suggest for any transaction, you wait for your clear to close um, from your lender to be received. That is a release that the lender from your underwriter says you're clear to close. Once you get that, then strategically, that is the best time to align your removal of your loan contingency, because up to that point, it can get really it's not 100% clear, right? That it's clear to close. So just to protect you in the contract, it's nice to align both the loan contingency and the clear to close that the lenders offer you at the same time. Then all of your contingencies are removed. The loan documents are then issued out to be signed. Your final wires would be issued out, and then recording and keys would be delivered. I always suggest that you sit down with a realtor and go over a buyer's presentation so there's a full understanding on how the process would work with that specific agent. Um, Making sure that there's a clear understanding on what you're looking for in a property and getting it in writing. I always suggest that you get you have a pre-approval in hand before you go touring a home. And the reason why I say that is because, to determine this a property or it is a good time to buy, remember I said it's about sustainability. So you won't know what your monthly payment that you can, I think of it as kind of like lifting the weights. What is the weight you're willing to like carry, the level of investment that you're going to be handling monthly for the next 30 years. And you won't have that understanding until you have that pre approval. So then when you walk into take a tour of these homes, so now when you walk through, you're like, okay, this is a monthly mortgage of 5,000 a month. And then now you're walking around. Now you're like, is this something I want, monthly that I'm going to be paying $5,000 a month for? A lot more grounded, level headed approach to shopping. Because if you go in and start shopping and looking at properties and you haven't got pre approved yet, it definitely can cause a lot of confusion in that process. And we want to have this as clear as possible. So, in summary, I feel like there is a lot of decisions to be made, and there's a lot of things that need to be understood. But I hope this has given some clarity in a direction that you would be able to take on with more confidence moving forward in buying in this seller's market. Here we go.
Thank you so much, Sandra. For those of you who joined us, don't worry about taking all these notes. We are recording this session, so later you'll be able to view them, and I'll let you know where to go. The other thing is that you just heard from Sandra Williams. She's a licensed broker and principal of her own real estate business, and I'm Patricia Perez. I'm AARP California State President Emeritus, and you are joining our Let's Talk Dinero with ARP, and this is our opportunity, this part of the program, where we answer your questions. So you just heard from Sandra. So now this is your chance to ask questions. Please go on the chat, go on the comments, write in whatever questions you have, and we'll try to get to them. And I mean, Sandra talked to us from, step one of whether this is the right time to buy, or knowing, understanding what the right time to buy, to getting pre-approvals, to, what to expect. But Sandra, you were talking about the Fed rate being 5.5 and that it is expected to decrease this year. What do you think the new rate will be, or how can we guess what the new rate will be?
Yes. So I shared that every time the rate changes, the Fed does an increment of a quarter percent, so 0.25. So I am not, an economist, you know what I mean? But I want to give from my experience, I can highlight this has been the trajectory that the Fed has done. And so if we add 5.5 plus so it'd be around like 6.5% or sorry, 4.5% would be a full 1%. So it would be 4.25 is what we would see typically, what the new rate would be. But again, they're saying that it is going to be done at the second half of the year, and it is not guaranteed, and it's not, they can do many months where they don't have any decreases. So what's really tricky, what a lot of agents, and a lot of the even the news article, they don't say anything definitely because it's not until it's done that it's definite. Everything has been, this is what's forecasted.
Got it. You also shared some graphs. I know that you took a sample of Los Angeles County in terms of deciding, like assessing what the market was. And you were talking about the inventory available and all of that. Can we access those charts, or how would we be able to do our homework and figure out if this is the right time to buy or sell?
Right. So to get analysis on the market, I do know that there are websites that you could do. However, they're all research and data driven. And so I would highlight working with a realtor And all of these generated reports are from the MLS, the ones that I'm referring to. So this is accurate live data that is done, that's current to what is located in the area. So I would always suggest working with a realtor to do these types of reports. And you can sit down with one and talk like you're like, okay, I'm looking to buy in the city of Los Angeles. Okay, can you tell me what's the inventory? What's the median price? And what is the average days on market? And so when you have the professional that you're working with, they can go ahead and provide you these statistical reports and generate them for you.
And that would work if you are open to different communities, different neighborhoods, different areas, and you just want to know which one makes the most sense for you, right? Like you were talking about these amenities, these lifestyle um, options. So once you decide, then I guess you work with a broker and say, okay, I'm looking at this community. Can you run a report for me on that?
Exactly. I feel like the questions that I highlighted are so essential to balance the data, because this everything that I highlighted with the questions prior were about what are you looking for? Like, so for you, Patricia, say for example, so what are your values for what you're looking for a property? So homes are very unique to the owner on what you value, and you're like, I really like this architecture and I want it to be single story, not two stories. There's just a lot of personal preferences. So it's really understanding what your preferences are, balancing that out with the statistical data that you could get from the market. And then it's working together to move forward and creating a plan of action.
Yeah. And I know that many people start by saying, oh, I'm open to anything, anything. The minute you walk into a home, then you realize, oh, no, I do not know what I like and I don't like. But people should, like you said, people should not walk into a home before doing those steps, right? And you were saying one of them was doing your homework, getting pre-approvals, all of that. And you were talking also about the sustainability, and because you were saying it's more than just the mortgage, right? You were talking about the taxes, we're talking about the insurance, the maintenance, all the other expenses that go into the home. So you're looking at, can I manage this for 30 years or 15 years, whatever loan you want?
Yes, I feel a lot of I have been following a lot of the different new homeowners feedback on the process of home buying, and they feel the number one complaint is that they weren't fully prepared with the level of responsibility that they were about to take on. They were really hyper focused, like, wow, I didn't think I was gonna get a home, so now I have it. And then they also just were like, okay, I can handle that monthly mortgage. Okay, that's the only one thing. Like they're calculating. They're not calculating having the family over and then them going to the market. Now you're feeding the whole family coming over for the Christmas parties. Or like, wait a minute, now I'm getting all of this furniture, and it's these things start to add on. And I have another presentation that I typically do with my new homeowners too, and I tell them to have an investor mindset, because this is an investment. And when you have your understanding of what your parameters for your investment are, you know what your non-negotiables are and you know what your deal breakers are. And typically when we look at our homes, we personalize them, and we can probably not have a good clear plan, of the next 10 years. Well, like having a property and having an investment, it is a business. So you need to have an understanding like of tracking your expenses and having a good budget system and things like that. So there's a lot to consider.
Yeah, yeah. And like you were saying, that all these things that you don't think about, like people who say, yeah, I want a pool, right? In my house, I want to see the kids, right? And then you realize the whole family and all the maintenance and upkeep and water and everything that goes, everything just goes through the roof once you start. adding the numbers up.
Mhm.
Let's see. Sandra, we have a couple of questions, and please, if you're watching, ask your question. Just type away in the comments or in the chat. Let's see. We have a question. Hold on a second. Oh, hold on a second. Is there a down payment usually suggested? Is there like a formula to figure out the down payment?
Okay, this is a great question. Down payments. So, number one, we always suggest you having your own savings that you're constantly, if this is your goal of home buying, first step one is having a savings, right? Just in general. Then the next step is to determine and sitting with a loan officer in what type of loan program you want to move forward with in buying a property. Because each loan program has different qualifications and requirements that you will need to fulfill in order to qualify for them. So, for example, there is the FHA loan programs. So, you would just be required to put as a down payment of 3.5%. There are things to consider with that lower down payment. There is this fee, an additional insurance fee that you would need to be called. It's called mortgage insurance. And so your monthly payment, will have this additional fee that you would be paying monthly, in contrast to if you put 10% or 20%, you are then not having that mortgage insurance that's included into it. So I would say speaking to a mortgage professional to then determine what is a strategic plan that you would like to get into, and then you can work towards that goal. So typically, the loan programs most commonly are 3.5%. Then there's 5%, there's 10% programs, and then there's 20% programs.
But rule of thumb, do as much as you can in terms of
Yeah,
down
rule of
payment.
thumb, I would say to make sure that it's affordable for you. I mean, it's at the end of the day, I care about sustainability for you. So I would say one is I would ask one is this goal you're looking to achieve? Is this something you want to do in the next 5 years? Okay, that's one thing. Another thing I would ask is, um, are you married? What is the, dividing up the responsibility of who's putting the deposit and how much? Are you splitting it with someone else? Um, of course, easier accessibility would be the 3.5%.
Perfect.
Uh,
Um, sorry, there's another question here, and I'm not sure. What are the current rates for HELOCs?
HELOC.
Is
Mhm.
HELOCs? Thank you.
Mhm.
What is a HELOC? And
Home
where,
equity line of credit.
thank you.
Mhm.
And where can homeowners look for different HELOC options?
Yes, that's great. Again, that would be a great mortgage professional because they are the ones who have access to all of the different loan programs. Those rates are typically higher. I did have a client right now, and it would be in like the 14 to 12 to 14% interest rates for the HELOC specifically that this one client has here in, I believe they're in the San Bernardino County. So that's just one analysis. Again, I would suggest sitting down with a mortgage planner.
Perfect. Somebody wants to know, like, why are homes in LA County in high demand, considering that someone has seen several homes for sale on the market for many months? And what could be the reason why homes are not sold right away?
Oh, that's such a great question. I love that. Okay, so let's talk about these interest rates. They are higher than what we were seeing in the COVID 2020 days. And so what we have is different overlays. So the first one is we have people are paying a higher interest rate and they're going into a home with a higher value and they want a home that they don't need a remodel. They're already paying premium. This is high dollar, purchase. So you see people who are, you know, you see these homes, yes, they're on the market and, you can be looking in LA County and they may be staying there longer, but how much work does need to be done to that home? In contrast to the other homes, what we just showed for LA County typically are sold within 25 days. One of the key things is the level of work that needs to get done. If they've been taken care of and they're not dated and they have good amenities and they don't have a lot of work to be done, they are gone within a couple weeks. So one of the key things I would say, everyone's, there's a high ticket price for these homes and not wanting to hire, contractors. And it's because when you go retail and you're not an investor flipper, you pay even a premium on that as well, being a homeowner and doing remodeling in contrast to the flippers, the pricing that they get. And then the other thing I like to highlight is that we have been wow, marketing is amazing. We have Instagram, we have these magazines, we have these home, these renovation television shows. So we have these images of and I've met with clients, they have these image of like, this is the type of home I want. And then the budget that they may have is not matching, that price point. And that's the truth. It's just we kinda can be, with rose-colored glasses thinking, I'm gonna get this price and at this type of quality of product, and unfortunately, yeah, the ones that are staying on the market, there's probably, zoning issues, there's things that need to get done, maybe
Yeah,
unpermitted square footage, and so if it's gonna
yeah,
take more time and money, they're gonna
yeah.
stay on there.
And probably if you look at the house, you'll figure out why.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
pretty.
it's, yeah, it might be overpriced, or it may be, very specific to a certain lifestyle, who knows? But if
Exactly.
you tour a house, but of course, do not tour a house if you don't, well,
Yes,
if you want to buy, do not tour a house unless you are pre-qualified and ready. I mean, that's like, you know, heartache waiting to happen if, you
exactly.
start touring houses, just, you know, you fall in
Absolutely.
love. Yeah. But I guess that's a good exercise for people who want to sell their homes, right? Can they go to a realtor and have them do a walkthrough of their property and tell them what?
Absolutely. I do them often where and it's free. It's a service that the agents offer you. And so you do a walkthrough of the home and you determine, the agent will determine based on the comparables and the condition of the home. There's three numbers I like to always tell my clients, my sellers. There is the list price. That's the starting number that I would say I can sell your home for. The next one is going to be the negotiated, like in negotiations number where you're like, okay, this is, the back and forth that's going to be um, going between, the buyers and sellers. And then there's the final price of like, this is what the sold price is. So it's definitely understanding that there could be a number either lower to the list price, maybe to attract more buyers, to maybe a different price point. So there's a strategy that goes into the list pricing. So just understanding the list price and what your final price, there are, those are not the same numbers.
Yeah. And you would give people recommendations on things that they should fix, because otherwise, right, that's really going to impact.
Absolutely. For selling homes, I always do a pre-market uh, meeting and in preparing the property because now your personal home, is now turning into a storefront. And you think about all the different, retail stores and what do you like about them? They're clean, they're tidy, they have the like most trendy, decor going on. And so these are all things to entice and make attractive to, the new home buyer. So definitely something, as a homeowner, you kind of need to understand, like, now your home is a storefront.
Yeah. And I guess when it comes to home repairs, you either pay for it yourself, somebody has to pay for it, or you're gonna pay for it, that you're not gonna get the full value of your house, right? If you're saying, well, I want to sell my house, but it needs a new roof, it needs whole plumbing, and it's, electrical. If the buyer's gonna get that, they're gonna deduct it from the value, from the
Exactly.
price.
Definitely something to remember is that it is a negotiation, and it is something that needs to go and be spoken to with the seller beforehand, and understanding if it's not something that's going to be fixed, then it is open for negotiation.
Perfect. Somebody has a question. Are you required to get a home inspection?
That's a great question. I would say, depending on, there's different ways to answer this question. I am gonna say it is, as any new homeowner, that you're going to live into that home, not as an investment. Like, you're gonna remodel it and fix it later. But if you're going to live in that home, I am going to require, as an agent, I will say it is mandatory that you get a home inspection report. Depending on what loan program you get, they will require you also to have a home inspection report, because they will see on the appraisal, um, that there's things that need to get remedied in order to be in livable conditions. And so it would be in your best interest to have that, documentation, so that you can, line item it, because that's the good thing about a home inspection report, is that it is a specific line item of what needs to be remedied, because it can, be like a yarn ball where you're like, oh, I need to
Yep.
fix this, and it keeps going.
Oh my gosh,
So
yeah. Expensive.
yes, so I really highly suggest, yes, please get a home inspection report for every property that you buy.
All right. Sandra, are there any programs for first-time home buyers?
Yes, there are specific down payment assistant programs that are qualified based on your income and region. So I would start that conversation with your realtor, to let them know that you would like to get more information specifically on home, down payment assistance programs. And then for first time home buyers, there are specific agents that have more expertise than other agents. So that's something to take into consideration. And there's also, based on the loan program that you use, there's also education that is going to be required as first time home buyers that you would need to take.
Yeah, I know that there's these neighborhood housing services or these organizations, right, that give these how-to webinars.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I've heard of those. All right. We have a question. Um, do mortgage loans look into your income and suggest your mortgage be no more than 35% of your income?
That's a great question. So for in regards to meeting with your mortgage planner, they are focused on your ability to pay, right? They qualify you based on your ability to pay. And so how do they calculate that? And what that, question is referring to is your debt to income ratio. And so what they calculate is how much debt you are, carrying, in contrast to your income, and depending on what the percentage is, a healthy, number is 35%.
Okay. And Sandra, through everything you shared
Mhm.
today, somebody wants to know, bottom line, is now a good time to buy or not?
Okay, I will
All
go ahead and
right,
say this. I will say
come
this.
on.
When the interest rate's lower, there's going to be more people attracted to entering into the market. So because there's lower rates, there's going to be more competition. So
So
I
if
would
people are
suggest,
ready now,
if they're ready to move forward now, you're having less competition than what's forecasted to come in the second half of the year.
Ah, that's a good answer. So if you're ready, you have your down payment, you have everything, you're ready to buy, now would be a good time. So you have a little, not as much competition as once they start promoting these lower rates.
Exactly. And it's really challenging to say that, but I will go ahead and offer that to you. And but at the end of the day, I also want to balance what I just said, that is it sustainable and affordable for you as an individual family? Because sometimes we might look over and compare people and say, oh, they're doing it or I can. But really sitting down and looking at what's sustainable for your family is really key and essential to answering that question.
And Sandra, I know we're coming closer to the end, but I want to give you enough time to uh, give people some thoughts, some final recommendations, some advice.
Yes, awesome. Absolutely. What I would highly suggest is to put together with your family or the other decision maker with your family is sit down and have a good conversation, a good meeting to plan out 2024, and really talk about the hard and uncomfortable conversations about, you know, budget, your financials. Where are you guys? Because it's a team. It's not just, like for example, just me. For example, to buy a home, you don't just hire a realtor. You hire the mortgage professional. You have the insurance company. You have the home inspector. It's a team to help you with the purchase. And just like purchasing the home, you have a team with your husband, your wife, or your partner who you're working with. I would say put together a plan, answer these questions that we highlighted about what your preferences are, and then really putting a priority of where is this in contrast to all of the other, life goals and things that you're managing. Because from the process of you saying right now, you're like, I'm going to start to having keys, a healthy time frame would be about 3 months. So I would suggest to go ahead and start that process and feel prepared. And when you have your questions ready, you're going to have a good partner to be, or, a good realtor or professional who can help you answer them quicker, and you'll get to your goal faster.
Oh, good. Thank you. And we did start today by talking about how home ownership is one of the best ways for financial security and to start building generational wealth, if that is important to people. So, absolutely use that wisely.
Mhm.
Sandra, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And, for all your wise, insights. And to everybody, please know that ARP has free resources available on our website. So if you're looking for that, please visit us online for financial resilience resources and, of course, our future events at aarp.org/Let's Talk Dinero. Once again, aarp.org/Let's Talk Dinero. We're here to support your efforts. We're, bring you resources. We have online materials available. And I want to invite you, please mark your calendars for Monday, March 25th at 4 p.m. for our next Let's Talk Dinero with AARP event. And that one will be for Latinas in celebration of Women's History Month. And we'll focus on how we can prepare our nest egg. And I know it says for Latinas, but anybody can join, really. It's really just how to prepare yourself for the future and start getting people ready for retirement. Start thinking about retirement. So, Sandra, once again, thank you for joining us. To everybody, thank you for spending this hour with us. And we hope to see you March 25th at 4 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Hasta luego. Buenas noches. Bye.